Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this 2025 edition of our annual Juneteenth observance. One of our panelists is not able to make it physically. He is based in California, so he will be participating by Zoom. So his name is Professor Butch Ware. My name is Victor Carfor. I'm the head of the Department of Africology and African American Studies here at Eastern Michigan University. We salute our Almighty Father for all his graciousness and abiding love for us. And we also salute our human ancestors on whose shoulders we stand today. I do warmly welcome you to this roundtable about the future directory of not only black politics, but also national politics in our country of the United States. It's our country, and every one of us has a constitutional right to contribute towards our quest for a more perfect union. As you have noticed, we have assembled a distinguished panel of activist political experts who reflect diverse political and ideological viewpoints. They will lead this conversation with questions from me as the moderator and from you, the audience. In fact, the audience will have the bulk of the time for questions. As I said earlier, please help yourself to the refreshments. And all the students who are here for LBC credit should collect an LBC form from the table that is outside. Complete the LBC form and either hand the completed form over to Cecilia Santos, our administrative assistant, or place the completed forms on the table outside. As you may recall, in June 2021, former President Joseph Biden signed into law a federal holiday to be annually observed on June 19 as a national commemoration of Juneteenth, following a swift passage of the bill S-475 by both the Senate and the House of Representatives. While signing this law on June 17, 2021, at the White House, President Biden aptly recalled that, quote, 150 years ago, on June 19, 1865, a Major General of the Union Army arrived in Galveston, Texas to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation and free the last enslaved Americans in Texas from bondage. Reflecting on the significance of this federal holiday, Biden noted, and I quote, Juneteenth marks both the long, hard night of slavery and subjugation and the promise of a brighter morning to come. This is a day of profound, in my view, profound weight and profound power. A day in which we remember the moral stain, the terrible toll that slavery took on the country and continues to take, what I have long called America's original sin. These presidential insights are noteworthy, for as a popular adage says, those who forget their history are bound to repeat its mistakes. It happens all the time. Indeed, African American epic struggles have had an overall salutary impact of expanding the democratic space in the United States, giving freedom a concrete meaning in the United States. That transgenerational struggle has helped to bring about constitutional reforms, such as the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th Amendments to the United States Constitution, as well as such legislative reforms as the 1964 1964 Civil Rights Act, the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and the 1968 Equal Housing Act. Finally, it is also worth recalling that these constitutional and legal reforms have been invoked by pertinent communities of our nation in their quest for a more perfect union. With that, let me now introduce our distinguished panelists. I'll start with Representative Morgan Foreman. With a modest upbringing, State Representative Morgan Foreman has worked hard to earn her spot at the Capitol. Foreman was born in Southeast Michigan, where she was raised by her grandparents, both UAW members. Her dedication and grit helped her rise through the ranks in her community as a steadfast leader. Foreman has spent decades advocating for Washtenaw County, including working with former State Representative Felicia Brabeck. She brings a wide variety of experience in community leadership to her role, having previously served on the Washtenaw County Brownfield Development Board, in Washtenaw County Democratic Party County Committee, as treasurer of the Washtenaw County Democratic Party Black Caucus, and as an elected precinct delegate in Washtenaw County. Foreman's leadership doesn't end there. She also graduated from the Michigan Educational Policy Fellowship Program in 2022 and the Michigan Political Leadership Program. In 2019, she was named as leader of Color Fellow. Foreman serves her community attentively, placing their needs at the forefront of her priorities, which include education, consumer protection, supporting seniors, safeguarding fundamental rights. Representative Foreman will continue to work for Michiganders' well-being and the state's successful future. With her experience, she is always ready to hit the ground running. Let's give her a round of applause. Our next panelist is Professor Butch Ware, who is joining us remotely by Zoom. Professor Butch Ware is a lifelong activist and educator specializing in the history of empire, colonialism, genocide, and revolution. For the past 2 decades, Ware has put scholarship in service of the people, especially in response to the George Floyd murder in 2020, the ongoing genocide in Gaza, and the contemporary resurgence of fascism and white supremacy. He has organized teachings, community education curricula, and other activist and organizing initiatives. More broadly, Ware has been working as a public intellectual activist, artist, and organizer, supporting communities across the country and around the world to challenge imperialism, ethnic cleansing, and endless wars, and to build sustainable, just, peaceful alternatives rooted in African, indigenous, and Abrahamic traditions and histories. He was the Green Party vice presidential candidate in 2024 and is currently running as the Green Party candidate for governor of California in 2026. Butch was born in Washington, D.C. and raised in Minneapolis. He graduated from the University of Minnesota in 1997 and completed his doctorate in 2004 with his PhD in history from the University of Pennsylvania, where he is a leading academic authority on African history, Islam, and the Black radical tradition. Since 2004, Professor Ware has been a full faculty member at Northwestern Michigan and now UC Santa Barbara, teaching in history, Black studies, and Islamic studies. Let's give him a round of applause. Our next panelist is Martel Bivens. Martel D. Bivens is a visionary leader rooted in Detroit with an unshakable commitment to uplifting his community through education, economic opportunity, and public service. A proud product of Detroit Public Schools and Cody High School, he discovered his passion for leadership and the arts early by studying ballet and modern dance. These experiences taught him discipline, creativity, and perseverance. He continued his academic journey at Howard University, where he developed a strong interest in policy and constitutional law, particularly the transformative impact of the 13th Amendment. Guided by American values and a firm belief in the Second Amendment, Bivens has committed his life to service and principled leadership. Bivens has helped launch over 50 new businesses on the East Side. His leadership also led to the formation of the Airport Task Force, which secured critical funding to preserve the Coleman A. Young International Airport. In 2022, he made history as the first Republican in his region to secure 25% of the vote in a congressional race. The following year, he was appointed Director of Black Outreach for the Trump campaign. He is now running to represent Michigan's 13th Congressional District, focusing on expanding home ownership, growing the middle class, and ensuring everyday essentials remain affordable. Let's give him a round of applause. Our next panelist is Ms. Robin L. McCoy, attorney, educator, and mediator. Robin has been a part-time lecturer at Eastern Michigan University, teaching a class about law and the African American experience. She graduated with honors from the University of Chicago in 1996, where she was mentored by First Lady Michelle Obama during her senior year. Robin received her JD law degree from the University of Michigan Law School in 2000. Robin is the vice chair for the National Bar Association's International Law Section, member at large for the NBA's Criminal and Justice and Juvenile Justice Law Section, and deputy director for the NBA Region 6, past president of Black Women Lawyers Association of Michigan, past president of the Vanzetta Hamilton Bar Association, past vice chair of the Michigan Democratic Women's Caucus, and a member of the Detroit Association of Black Organizations Health Disparity Council. Robin has received numerous awards for her community service and social justice efforts. She has traveled all over the state, planning, facilitating, and organizing award-winning educational programs on what to do when stopped by the police, expungements and pardons, pathways to law school, and how to navigate the public school system. She will be participating in a panel on dismantling the school-to-prison pipeline and moderating a panel on the humanitarian crisis in Haiti at the National Bar Association's annual conference in Chicago, Illinois on July 30th, 2025. Let's give her a round of applause. The next one is Professor Emeritus Charles Omowale Simmons. Professor Emeritus Charles Omowale Simmons is the CEO and founder of the Hush House Black Community Museum and Leadership Training Institute for Human Rights in Detroit, Michigan. He was a member of the Uhuru Youth Organization and the League of Revolutionary Black Workers in Detroit. Professor Simmons was a United Nations and international correspondent for Muhammad Speaks newspaper and covered the decolonization, liberation movements in Africa, the Middle East, international peace and justice movements, and was a witness for justice in Palestine. Simmons has served in civil rights, Black Power, human rights organizations, and was an assistant to U.S. Congressman John Conyers, Jr. He taught at Howard University, California State University, Los Angeles, Eastern Michigan University, and Mary Grove College graduate program in social justice. He has lectured in Senegal, Belize, and Ghana. Simmons has a Juris Doctor from Georgetown University Law Center and an MS from Columbia University Graduate School of Journalism, where he was an international fellow. He has a BS from Lansing University, Oklahoma. His late wife was Professor Reverend Sandra Simmons of Detroit. He has 3 children and 6 grandchildren. Let's give him a round of applause. The next, but not the last and not the least, is Mr. Eric Brown. Mr. Eric Brown is an EMU alumnus and a past president of the board of directors of Eastern Michigan University's Alumni Association. In 2018, he was saluted as an Alumni Achievement Honoree. Mr. Brown is a human resource professional, a literacy advocate, a trustee, vice president of the Inkster Preparatory Academy, a mentor and board member of the Michigan Urban Youth Alliance, a member of the board of directors of 100 Black Men of Greater Detroit, and a member of the advisory board of Urban Alliance, and a member of the advisory board of EMU's Department of Africology and African American Studies. That's not all. Mr. Brown is also a headman's track coach at Lincoln High School in Detroit, Michigan, a life member of the Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated, and a podcast host of Detroit in Black and White presents Reality Strikes with Eric Brown. Let's give him a hand. Good. You can see that we have a distinguished panel for this event. Here's how we're going to proceed. Each panelist will give a 10-minute position statement on the future of not only Black politics, but national politics in the United States. Thereafter, as the moderator, I will pose a few follow-up questions, and after my round of questions, I will invite audience members to come forward and ask questions for the panelists to answer. So if you have any questions for the panelists, please wait until it is time for the audience to pose such questions. You will have ample time to ask as many questions as you want to ask. So let's start with Representative Fong.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you and good afternoon. That was weak, but I'll let it go. Thank you. Thank you. First, I want to start by, I don't like this mic, but it's fine. First, I want to start by thanking everyone for inviting me here today. My friend Woodrow Wilson, Dr. O, I appreciate the invite, and I'm very honored to share this space with you today because right now in this world, in this political climate that we're in, we really need this type of space that is going to, I just said this the other day, that we have to have some hard conversations, and we're going to have some difficult and challenging conversations, but what that requires after that conversation is visioning. And that vision demands us, and it demands us to be a part of creating that vision. I'm sitting here and I'm looking out in the audience and I see a young man who I believe I heard is going to be a student here next year, but he's an alumni of Belleville High School where I went, where Belleville High School has transformed, especially over the 4 years I was there, began the transformation and has completely transformed now, and I'm proud to have graduated from Belleville, so congratulations. But when we talk about the future of Black politics, we're not talking about trends, right? We can get caught up in trends very easily. We can get caught up in what's trending, what's popular, what's on Twitter, what's on TikTok, what we see. But what we are really doing in that visioning is authoring the next chapter of this story that we've been writing since we became free. And that freedom also started within our hearts and our minds, because I believe our ancestors, most of them, were never held captive by the situation that they were in. They always believed in freedom. We have a saying, we say we are our ancestors' wildest dreams, and all of us sitting here right now are the living proof of that. I think a lot about authors that I like, one being Octavia Butler. And for like the past couple of years, people have been like, oh my gosh, we're living in 1984, we're living in Animal Farm. And last year on in July 2023, 2024, I was like, we're actually living in Parable of the Sower. It's happening right now. And so, she said, all that you can touch, you can change. And all that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. And right now in this world, in this country, we're on a precipice of change, right? We're on a curve, we're on a straight line actually, and we're getting ready to fall off. And if we don't have a vision, without vision the people will perish. If we don't have a vision, we're going to fall right back into the same routine, the same type of thing, because we're going to repeat history. And so this is for us to imagine, this is for us to shape, it's for us to defend. Black politics isn't just, voting and legislating. It's radical acts of believing we can't. Everything okay over there? Okay, so I want to make sure nobody fail. That we can transform this world and get to work. In that spirit, I believe that Black politics is actually rooted in love. I talked to a friend of mine, Dr. Theodore Ransaw at MSU a lot, and we talk about when did the Black community become so disjointed in some spots. And we talked about this before, and we talked about when we stopped calling each other and looking at each other as brother and sister. And I think that we have to become rooted in love in our commitment to people, but not just in the moments of crisis, right? But every day. It's making sure that everyone in the community is fed, our elders are cared for, our streets are safe, and not through fear or force, but through connection, care, and collective power, and collective radical love. The systems that we have inherited in this country were not built for us, and we know that. And they're not built for us to thrive in, but now is a time for us to begin to build new ones. And we have to organize not just against what harms us, but towards what heals us. We don't have to be passive participants in someone else's democracy. It's time to begin to shape and create our own, and I think that's what this moment is calling us into if we search a little deeper. I center Black joy. Every day that I pull up to the Capitol when we have session, because we're not in session right now. This week we could have been getting things done, but that's neither here nor there. I center my Black joy. I listen to the music that I like to listen to. I eat the food that I like to eat. I have not assimilated, and I never did assimilate into the Lansing infrastructure and archetype very well. But if we're going to center Black joy, we have to center Black genius. And we have to center representation, not just transformation. Look, none of us here are trying to beg for scraps, right? We all have to admit that we're sitting in this space and we're a little privileged to sit here. We are here and we always have been. I am a native of this country. America is my home. And a lot of people have said nobody. I've heard a lot of other Black politicians say nobody loves America more than I do. I don't love America. I love what America ideologically stands for, but I don't love America right now. I like America. I like it, but I don't love it, right? And we have those issues with people. You might love your husband one day and not like him, and you might like him one day and not love him. This is not a personal situation, I'm just saying. But right now, I believe that it's time to take back what's been ours, and that's the state of our politics. It's time to take back our dignity, our agency, and our future, because we have multiple generations that are going to come through here, and we are at this very pivotal moment. It's like a supernova. It's going to burst. And if we don't harness this moment appropriately, we could squander the future. So that I end, because I hope I haven't talked for 10 minutes. I never want to talk for 10 minutes about anything. The future of Black politics is rooted absolutely in love. It's sharpened by truth, and it's guided by our ancestors' prayers and our children's dreams. We're not waiting for permission anymore to be powerful. We are powerful, and it's time that we hone and live in that power to transform this country and the future for the better. Thank you.
Thank you, Martell Bivens. This is really a full circle moment for me. My major at Howard was political science, dance, performance, and choreography, and each major has like a whole separate concentration, which is like, per the budget, could be another major. And I chose Howard for political science. You had concentrations of American presidency, you had different geographic sectors, geopolitical, and I chose these. My concentration I picked only because it had the shortest amount of credit hours. And that was really idiotic of me because that concentration had the most selective readings. Through a 4-year period of time, we read over 500 books. And that was, it is probably designed because of the professors of the department. They're super rigid, super anal. And that concentration was Blacks in politics. And Blacks in politics, unlike the concentration of American politics, American was just divine. Blacks in politics at Howard was like, we read every single book, every single region of our pigmentation in the world as it existed. And the last few years, dating back from 2022, my first congressional run-up into now, that concentration has been just so amazing. All those books have just, I've been in settings, and I've been walking, I've been reading, and I just step into stuff like, wow, that book that I didn't want to read, wow, that professor that just pushed me to do that, it's alive. It is alive, especially who I am as a Black man, especially living in a city of Detroit, which is still a majority minority place. It's just been really amazing. And I think the future of Blacks in politics, it is alive. We always will be. I mean, if we just think of our genetic code, Blackness, we're a dominant gene. Humanity doesn't exist without us, and politics is groups of people shaping cultures and funding and resources, so we will always exist. But at this juncture, how will we exist and how will we move is the main issue. And I think the dynamic of where we are in the country is just really beautiful in the awakening. I like to call myself a qualitative researcher. I love qualitative data. I look at quantitative and then I want to immediately jump into it. I want to find it. And I remember the first time that I began to shift from a Democratic ideology to a Republican ideology was intro into political theory. And I just remember leaning into my friends and I'm like, I don't think this Democrat thing is working for us. And they're like, man, shut up. And it was that. And to this day, I'm still cool with them. And just as I continue to work and move and interact with people beyond just policy and just get to know them, I'm beginning to see a shift. I have a good friend of mine, Kimani Jeffries, who's an alumni of the school. He's always sending me literature, and he said, hey man, the shift is happening. Black men are starting to trend towards Republican. And I'm like, Kimani, I was saying that in 2015. He's like, you're right. And that is the future. That is Blacks in politics. That's Blacks in American politics and revisited. And I think what is happening is really forcing people to be a little bit more in tune. We have social media, we have TikTok, we have Facebook, we have every genre and age demographic has a place where they're going to get news. And I know certain people are not really in depth in politics, but I know everyone knows someone that is in depth. So my sister is always sending me social media to like, is this factual? Is this this? Is this this? And my cousins are doing it. And I'm finding this is happening throughout the country. So Blacks in politics, it is moving, and we are still a strong voting base. Like we tilt where an election goes. And where I would like to see us go is I would like us to not be so counted on, guaranteed. And I think as we continue this awakening of asking what we want and understanding how politics work, I don't really think as a masses we understand the power of our vote, the offices in which we're voting for and what could potentially happen, and the ability, and this goes back to Plato's theory, the ability for the masses to pay attention to one's government. And I think as we get into that with social media, it will begin to help us and shape where we go politically. Thank you.
Professor, it's your turn.
Peace and power, family. Is everybody hearing me all right?
Yes.
Outstanding. I set a timer, so hopefully I don't go to 10 minutes either, but I'm used to lecturing for 75 minutes at a time in front of undergraduates, so I ain't making no promises. The first thing that I'll say is it's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure to be with you guys virtually. I taught up the road at the University of Michigan for 10 years, from 2008 until 2018. IPSI was family, so it's good to virtually be back. The second thing is I just want to offer my apologies. I have a special needs son, severely autistic, and he's been going through some medical issues. So that's the reason why I was unable to attend in person today. And so I apologize for only being here remotely, but I'm with y'all in the spirit. With y'all in the spirit on an auspicious day. So before I get into the future of black politics, I just want to set the moment with the discussion of Juneteenth and where we are. And I'm going to make a confession. I went to every last one of them barbecues from the time I was a teenager all the way up. But I was never a fan of the narrative of Juneteenth. And the reason why I was never a fan of the narrative of Juneteenth is because the narrative of Juneteenth makes it sound like our freedom was given rather than taken. That people had to hear about it rather than to seize it and struggle for it. And I come from a tradition, the W.E.B. Du Bois tradition, that taught that Reconstruction, in his book Black Reconstruction, where Du Bois taught that the American Civil War was the most successful slave rebellion ever in history. That black folks forced Lincoln, who was not intent on freeing the slaves before that Civil War broke out, that we consistently forced the hand of the powers that be and seized our freedom. So don't get me wrong, I'm happy to take the federal holiday. I'm happy to be able to join you guys on the day off, and I've been eating all of the barbecues. But the narrative that freedom is something that we had to be informed that we had is a narrative that I reject. It's a narrative that I fundamentally reject. But I do see echoes of that in this moment, and I'll talk about the future of black politics framed by those comments. Some folks still don't know we're free. Some folks still do not know that we're free. And the future of black politics, every time I give a Juneteenth address, is to find out where we are in the long trajectory of black liberation. That's what these moments on the calendar are for. They cause us to look back, Sankofa, look back so that you know that where you're going. So this causes us to take stock of where we are in this contemporary moment. And a lot of folks still don't know that we're free. A lot of our people are enslaved mentally. What did Harriet Tubman say? I freed 1,000 slaves and I'd have freed thousands more if only they had known that they were slaves. And the size of the room, the gathering that you guys have assembled today, where we're pondering our political future, shows how many of our folk are not actually interested in having a political conversation in this moment. They're just interested in what has become a commercial federal holiday. But I digress. Let's talk about the future of black politics. And in order to do that in a brief fashion, I have to tell one story about myself. This is how I became an African history professor. It's also how I eventually got involved into politics. It was through the autobiography of Malcolm X. When I was 15 years old, I read the autobiography of Malcolm X. I read it cover to cover in one night. I could not put that book down because Malcolm was honest about how dark the places that he had been in his life actually were. And I wanted what Malcolm had at the end of that book because I had been in a lot of dark places in my life too. My father was a locksmith with a 6th grade education who hustled to make ends meet. And my mother was a teenage mother, 15 years old, pregnant with me, told by her high school guidance counselor to get an abortion because she was pregnant by a black man in 1973. So I had seen some of the things that white supremacy could do, and I wanted what Malcolm had. I didn't live at the same street address for a calendar year consecutively until I was 8 years old. And what Malcolm taught me through his autobiography was that a person who is free in here and in here cannot be put in chains. And I wanted what Malcolm had at the end of that book. I went out and checked out an English translation of the Quran from my public library the next day. I read that cover to cover the next night. I had converted to Islam before the week was out, and that was my baptism into the Black radical tradition and my personal faith tradition. And I have used those joint weapons of Islamic history, which I teach, and Black revolutionary history, which I teach, as instruments for helping us understand our contemporary moment and therefore the future. So I'm going to start to talk about the future by leaning on Malcolm. Malcolm said, "The liberal is a fox. It bares its teeth and you think that it's smiling at you, but you are on the menu. The conservative is a wolf. When it bares its teeth, it's into a vicious snarl that leaves the Negro with no illusion as to where he stands." Malcolm, in 1964, in the ballot or the bullet, posited that the Negro community, the black community, was caught between two predators who differ only in the modality of the hunt, the liberal and the conservative, Team Blue and Team Red. And Malcolm, in 1964, said, "We are going to knock on every single door in Harlem, and we are going to register every black face that's behind every door, not as a Democrat, nor as a Republican, but as an independent," because Malcolm wished to leverage the autonomous power of our community, rather than getting pulled into either a Democrat plantation or a Republican one. And just to be clear, Malcolm said in 1964 that the white liberal is the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. I repeat, the white liberal is the most dangerous thing in the Western Hemisphere. And he said that at a time that white conservatives were turning dogs and fire hoses on black kids, at a time that white conservatives were hanging Negroes from trees, at a time that white conservatives were putting bullets in the brains of white voting rights activists and burying them in shallow graves next to Mississippi roads. But Malcolm said what he said. And what we have found, and the reason why I ran as a Green Party candidate, not with Team Blue or Team Red, is that now many of us have made ourselves full-time members on one or the other of these plantations. Either the one that is run by the cunning foxes or the snarling wolves. Malcolm said, "We are not outnumbered, we are out-organized." And our organizational capacity, unfortunately, has been channeled largely into the service of two political parties that ain't got no love for us. They come out and recruit us as part of, Malcolm said it, he said they treat the Negro like a political football in a forever game between liberals and conservatives. Well, it is about time that we embrace power for ourselves. The Green Party has run on a reparations stance, a reparations platform since 2012. They were crazy enough to let a genuine, dyed-in-the-wool black Muslim revolutionary run as the vice president on their ticket in 2024, and we finished third, and I'm coming for him in the state of California right now. The last thing that I'll say on this is that another student of Malcolm, Kwame Ture, who had the honor of knowing Malcolm in life, formerly Stokely Carmichael, for those that would recognize him by his by his slave name, by his government name. Stokely Carmichael, utilizing Malcolm's insight about organizing, he said, "Revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues, revolutionaries organize against systems." I'll repeat, revolutionaries don't just mobilize around issues, revolutionaries organize against systems. We have seen in these past 5 years of political instability with the resurgence of white supremacy, we have seen massive mobilization around police brutality against black people and cops murdering black people. We've seen more white people marching for in Black Lives Matter protests than we ever saw. Biggest mobilization we've ever seen on this issue. We've seen bigger mobilization for Palestinian liberation. And yes, Palestinian liberation was on the platform of Malcolm, it was on the platform of Kwame Ture. Every genuine black revolutionary has stood 10 toes down for Palestine because they understood that every struggle against white supremacy and American imperialism is a struggle in which the Negro is concerned. But while we have seen mobilization in silos around these issues, we have not seen organization against the systems which produce these outcomes, imperialism abroad and foot on and knees on our neck here at home. So my call for the future of black politics is for us to organize outside of this corporate-owned duopoly, which is owned by the same corporations, whether they are repping blue or repping red. And with that in mind, I will add to the insights that Malcolm gave and that Kwame Ture gave to say that the role of a political party in a revolutionary movement is to channel the people's energy from mobilizing around issues into organizing against systems. And that is why I am running for elected office. That's the reason why I'm trying to build, not just here in the state of California, but nationwide. Thank you for the 10 minutes.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Attorney Robin McCoy. I want to thank you for being here today. I want to thank Dr. Okafor for the invitation to revisit the topic of the future of black politics in America. I want to thank our distinguished panel of guests for being here. I appreciate that we have another woman in State Representative Morgan Foreman, to join this panel, as black women are the mothers of our nation and our world. I want to acknowledge that as we gather here to celebrate the holiday of Juneteenth, Juneteenth, also known as Juneteenth Independence Day, Freedom Day, or Emancipation Day, is a holiday celebrating the emancipation of those who had been enslaved in the United States. Specifically, it commemorates the June 19, 1865 announcement of General Order Number 3 by Union Army General Gordon Granger proclaiming freedom for enslaved people in Texas. This day is celebrated as the oldest nationally celebrated commemoration of the ending of slavery in the United States. As we reflect on this topic of the future of black politics on America, we must reflect on the past. Hosea 4:6, I know Sister Morgan references, is a well-known verse that states, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge." It is important for us to educate ourselves and ignore efforts to distract us from the truth with constant bombardment of misinformation. Ephesians 6:12, y'all must know, I'm the granddaughter of a preacher. Kojic Church of God in Christ. I got 4 uncles that are ministers. I got some aunts that are evangelists. I was baptized Catholic Pentecostal AME. I'm from Superior Township, so that's how I roll. So Ephesians 6:12, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. And then as we talked about last time, and the video for last time is, you can go see it on my Robin Legal. And I will say this, we want to shout out to my brother Kyle Caldwell, our videographer. He's videotaping today. So just so y'all know, because I'm a lawyer, when y'all ask questions, you being videotaped. So if you got some stuff that y'all want to talk to us about that you don't want to be on video, you come up to us after the fact. Okay, I just want to let you know. Okay, so Sankofa. Go back and get it. Knowledge is power. I always say that. Knowledge is power. You see my other videos, educational videos I've done, knowledge is power. So we as black people in America and around the world are a resilient people. We have survived many atrocities in this country, from slavery to the new Jim Crow, to this present cycle of oppression of our people by those in the society who would seek to destroy us. These evil, hateful, racist, classist, sexist, xenophobic people who seek to destroy us must understand that as you seek to destroy us, you are destroying yourselves.
Xenophobia is the fear, distrust, or hatred of strangers, foreigners, or anything perceived as foreign or different. It can manifest as prejudice, discrimination, or hostility towards individuals or groups based on their nationality, ethnicity, culture, or origin. To my white brothers and sisters that may be here or watching the video, you must understand that we, Black, African, Negro people, are the parents of human civilization. We are the original people. You came from us. Why did the slave masters use our Black women's milk to feed their children? Because in their own warped sense, they knew that Black women are the mothers of civilization. Lucy is the mother of civilization. A 3.2 million year old Black woman discovered in Ethiopia, East Africa in 1974. She is significant because her skeleton is remarkably complete for a hominid of that age, providing valuable insights into human evolution and transition to bipedalism. So, translation, the evidence is clear that all of humanity comes from a Black woman. If you destroy us, you are destroying yourselves. Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." We are caught in the inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects us all indirectly. This is a letter from the Birmingham, Alabama jail, April 16, 1963. Think about that. You have people in this country, white people, some Latinos, some of our Arab brothers that voted for Trump, thinking that he was going to be out for them. I was talking to my Arab brothers and sisters. I'm like, there was a Muslim ban under Trump White House Apprentice Edition 1. What do you think he's going to do? He emboldened Israel to commit the genocide that is currently going on against the Palestinians. Why do you think he's going to be better? So Black people, back to Black folks. So you must understand that we are God's chosen people. When I say God's chosen people, I'm not talking about the white Jesus of our Bibles that imperialistic colonizers modified and repurposed to suit for themselves as slave masters, i.e. the Willie Lynch effect. That is us waiting around for a white Jesus to come save us all in this present realm or the afterlife. I'm talking about Black Jesus, a radical revolutionary freedom fighter who walked on the streets of Israel and Kemet, feeding the homeless, healing the sick, and fighting the oppressive Roman Empire that was seeking to destroy him and his people. The Romans sought to destroy the revolutionary Black Jesus back in those days, as we see that there are those in our American imperialistic government seeking to destroy the Black man, woman, and children. Our immigrant cousins, Haitians, Cubans, Venezuelans, Mexicans, Arab folk, Palestinians in Israel. Israel is our proxy in the Middle East, committing a genocide against brown people. People of color, poor people all over the world. They just took away U.S. aid. We've got starving people here in this country. We're one of the wealthiest countries in the world, and we should not have starving people. As I'm from this community, as I walk in Ann Arbor, I see Black, white, I see all kinds of people. I see veterans that should not be in the streets. They serve this country. They deserve better. My mom was a veteran. If you go in my lineage, you can trace veterans all the way back to the Civil War, okay? So, there are 1 billion people on this planet, the majority of which are of color. India has passed China in population. Every time the racist supremacists try to kill Black, brown, red, and yellow babies by cutting off USAID or through efforts to reduce Medicaid or SNAP benefits in the current upcoming big beautiful bill, by paying people in our own communities to promote infighting that may cause some temporary disruption, you must understand we are survivalists. We will bounce back. We are the original people. The indigenous people of this world, we will bounce back. So we gonna die, we multiply, okay? I'm here to say that. Ain't nobody coming to save us, as one African leader recently said to the youth. Ain't nobody coming to save us. We must save ourselves. Case in point, look at the current president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré. He went to high school, went to college, joined the military, worked as a UN peacekeeper, then tried to work within his own government to end corruption and help his people. When that didn't work, he was part of a coup that resulted in him being chosen as president. He's been working to rebuild, restore, and revitalize his country for his people. As early as 2025, several African countries have expelled or are in the process of expelling the French military force. This is known as the African Frexit. You have, as I've referenced, Burkina Faso, Niger, Chad, Senegal, Ivory Coast. We need to look to their example. President Tory has survived 18 assassination attempts. He did not wait for somebody to come save him. He saved himself and his people. He is a champion of justice in Africa and around the world. We have our own freedom fighters: W.B. Du Bois, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, Fannie Lou Hamer, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Nelson Mandela, Stephen Biko, Fred Hampton. You know, the list goes on. Even though they try to erase our history, they will not succeed. We have griots. We will retain it. You know, we do what we got to do. We have current radical revolutionaries in our midst. Senator Cory Booker, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. We have Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, Al Green, Attorney Ben Crump, Cornel West, Mayor Karen Bass, First Lady Michelle Obama, Barack Obama, Professor Michelle Alexander, and Professor Kimberly Crenshaw, Tupac Shakur, who was, they took from us, obviously. So we must remind ourselves that we are survivors. Our ancestors survived the journey from Africa to America and the Middle Passage. We survived the horrors of slavery, black codes, Jim Crow, redlining, segregation, the new Jim Crow, the COVID pandemic, and we are still here. In this current cycle of hegemonic oppression, I think it's important that we look within. We must focus on educating ourselves and our youth about what it takes to survive a storm. We need food, clothing, and shelter. We need to link up with like-minded people, politicians, businessmen, and community organizers whose actions are lined up with their words, not con artists seeking to line their pockets with bribes. After the Civil War, the Japanese, they joined the blue team, the red team. They did what they had to do to survive. We're limited by having a two-party system. Yes, I am a card-carrying Dem, but we are limited. It needs to be the red team, the blue team, the green team, whatever we need to do as a people. Black people need to come together to liberate ourselves. We need to purge the Willie Lynch effect from within our system, and we need to do what we can do to liberate ourselves. We must understand, they're not like us. They clearly showing they're not like us. We need to link up with people that are like us. Ain't nobody coming to save us. We must save ourselves. America needs to wake up, and we need to vote out all the racist, sexist, classist, xenophobic people from our country. Thank you.
Good afternoon again, and thanks for allowing me to be a panelist again, Dr. Okafor. I won't be here long before you. I was here back in February, same topic. But I cannot hold back regarding my disappointment with the Black electorate that continues to expect some savior. It's as if everybody had notes, to come save us. At some point, we have got to accept the fact we are who are going to save us. We. Look in the mirror. That's who's going to save you. No Democrat, no Republican, no Green Party, no white person, no Puerto. We are who are going to save us. Newsflash, my brothers and sisters, far too many of us are still asleep at the wheel. And I challenge anyone to tell me who are trying to be like us. That catchphrase is a song. Let's be real. What's going on in our community? Ask yourself, who is trying to be like us? I am often asked, why are you so hard on black people? Or do you like black people? So let me tell you this as a black person. It is not my responsibility to challenge my race, but it's my responsibility to hold my race accountable. I live in a place that no matter how much our success is, those that screw up results in a broad stroke of consternation being leveled at all of us. The complicit biases that often results in the side-eyed look from our distractors is a result of their realities holding true to their perceptions. So what have I done is being tired of telling people what they want to hear, and I intentionally tell people they need to hear. The sugarcoating, pointing fingers, and excuse making is for cowards. At some point, we have to move on in the direction away from group and monolithic thinking. And know this, having a contrarian opinion does not make me any less black, but it does prove that I'm woke. The future of black politics has to look like accepting and respecting diverse political opinions and affiliation from all political parties. Since 1964, the majority of black Americans has been woefully loyal to a political party that we have loved more than they have loved us. No disrespect, but if politics was a damn social relationship, the Democratic Party would be easily accused of abuse with regards to how they treat the black Americans. If there's one takeaway from the last presidential election, so many of you have to accept the fact that you were being used by a political party at the expense of retaining power. The Democratic Party was trying to retain power. They knew that Joe Biden was an invalid. They lied to you. They lied to us. Well, I mean, come on. I mean, it's not going back and forth.
No, Trump too, let's be honest.
Did you vote?
Yeah.
Okay, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to go back and forth. Neither party don't work for damn, that's the point.
You have a chance to ask your question, please.
I agree with you, keep going.
Their campaign lost steam early on by focusing and making Donald Trump, since so many want to harp on him, the usurper of democracy. When they, in fact, bastardized democracy by anointing someone into the role of presidential candidate who did not get votes from a single one of us. In the end, the distraction of June 27, 2024, and what took place on July 21, 2024, is what allowed one party to win the presidency, maintain control of the House, and take over the Senate. Simply because we, the people, did not demand better and allow identity politics and going along to get along to overcome common sense. I am no apologist for the black electorate, for I walked away from the blind loyalty to a political party many decades ago. Growing up in Detroit, I was told by my parents, relatives, and every black elder that I knew that I had to vote Democrat no matter what. Early on in my college career, I realized that I had been bamboozled. Learning to think for myself, I soon came to the realization that it doesn't matter if it is the right leg or the left leg, it comes from the same damn bird of nothingness. To that end, I have only voted a straight party ticket twice in my life, and I've been voted since 1983. And not since 2008 have I voted for a candidate representing the two-party oligarchy in the presidential election. Here's what I want to leave the audience with in my, with regards to my opening statement rather. Be you, think for yourself, learn the art of critical thinking, and understand this. Black politics has no future if we continue to be a one-trick pony that thinks a savior is coming. Trust me when I say this, the Democratic Party is not our savior. So please expand your political horizons beyond the identity base of being black and thinking that voting blue is the only thing to do. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Mark Fancher, and I think that when we consider this topic, we have to begin with the fact that the United States of America is the ultimate evil absurdity. You have to look at the fact that with respect to its origins, there were people in England who felt that they were being oppressed, people who felt that they were being marginalized, people who felt that they were being excluded, people who felt that they were being abused, and what they wanted to do was to come across the ocean and establish something new, something that was fair, something that was democratic, something that was just. So they got in their boats, they came across the ocean, and in order to do that, they killed off everybody. They stole all of their territory. And then they began to enslave others in Africa to make them build up the country so that they could enjoy a form of white privilege. It was established not just for all white people, it was established for an elite group of white people, men specifically with property and wealth. And they constructed a political system which was intended to perpetuate the power of this oligarchy, this elite group. And in order to perpetuate it, they created confusion and division among everybody else. And in order to create the illusion and to create confusion, over time they established a two-party system which was intended to create the illusion that people were participating in a democratic process, that they could cast a vote for somebody that they chose, when in fact what they were doing is they were selecting somebody that was acceptable to the elite and to the oligarchy. It was a controlled process, one to ensure that those with power, those with wealth, those who were members of the oligarchy would be able to perpetuate their power, continue their dominance and their hegemony over everybody else. And what was unknown to the vast masses of the people is that they always recognized the game on an intuitive level, if not a conscious level. They always realized that there was something fundamentally unjust, but they were confused. Most particularly, white workers were confused because they were told that unlike those who were African, those who were indigenous to this hemisphere, that they enjoyed a certain opportunity that those people did not. That even if they were dirt poor, even if they were excluded, even if they were living in poverty, that they had the opportunity for upward mobility. And that they had a promise that was made to them that they would never be in the very bottom rung of the social hierarchy, the economic hierarchy and the political hierarchy. And at various times during the course of the history of this country, things have gotten out of whack. Because during Reconstruction, all of a sudden, formerly enslaved people began to rise above white workers. They began to accelerate their academic progress, their economic progress, their political progress, and these white workers got extremely confused. And they became extremely angry, and they became extremely resentful. And they decided that they were going to set things right through the use of terrorism by establishing the Ku Klux Klan and Night Riders and other groups that were used to put these people, quote unquote, back in their place. And at other times, during the 1960s, in the aftermath of the assassination of Dr. King, when because of the organizing efforts of the Civil Rights Movement, the Black Power Movement, the Black Panther Party, and other things, we began to see what was perceived to be progress by people who were black in this country. There was a great deal of resentment among white workers. And they began to say to themselves, things aren't right. And Richard Nixon understood this, and he came and spoke in code to them and said, elect me because I will bring you law and order, which was code word for I'm going to put them back in their place. And you fast forward, even during the days of Bill Clinton, when there was a perception of the rise of black power that Bill Clinton, through the advice of his Southern white racist advisors, understood that what he had to do was to speak code to white workers and to tell them in no uncertain terms, I'm going to put them back in their place. Even if it was done by identifying all black people with Sister Souljah. So we have to understand that this game has been played, and by far the master of this is Donald Trump. Nobody has played this game better. Because when he says, make America great again, we know that what he's saying is make America white again. Because what he's saying to all of these disgruntled white workers who've been excluded and oppressed and exploited by the elite, by the major multinational corporations that have offshored all of the jobs and have shut down industries and cast vast numbers of white workers into poverty. What he's saying to them is that it's not their fault. It's the fault of all of these brown people who are coming across the border. They're taking your jobs, they're taking your opportunities. It's the fault of these black people who are not in their place. It's the fault of these people who are brown and who are black who are continuing to have babies, and because of it, they're going to outpace us in terms of the population of this country, and they're going to overtake it, and they're going to make white people a minority. And they're going to take away everything good and decent about America. So I'm going to make America great again by making America white again. So fundamentally, Donald Trump is all about racism and white supremacy. And we have to be absolutely honest about it. I cannot understand black and brown people who sign on to that because either they're stupid or confused or they're self-hating. And so we must be clear about this fact. And what we must understand is that because this system has been set up from the outset to be a game, to be a con, to be a method of manipulating populations, that the way forward for us as African people is to run away from it as fast as we can. And if we can get the chance to destroy it, we ought to destroy it. Because it is fundamentally corrupt. It is fundamentally unjust, and it has no right to exist. The United States of America has no moral right to exist because it's built on the backs of enslaved African labor. It's built on territory that was stolen, and it's built on a history of genocide. And so the alternative is for us to recognize that in our divorce from America, that we look to people around the world who have been similarly oppressed by the same enemy. Because the enemies of African people in this country are the enemies of enslaved people, of oppressed people who've been exploited throughout the global South. And so when we see those Palestinians who are targets of genocide, they are our brothers and sisters. They are the ones who are suffering. When they start pointing fingers at people who are coming across the border from Mexico, from Venezuela, from those places, those are our brothers and sisters, because when you're living in a land that was stolen, there is nobody that's illegal. When we look at Africa, and our sister Robin talked about Ibrahim Traoré, we must understand that there is the future for African people and for African politics. Because even though we as Africans who live in the diaspora do not understand the value of Africa, understand very well that our enemies understand it very well. They understand it because they created the U.S. Africa Command for the specific purpose of locking down Africa from Cape to Cairo militarily. Because they understand that Africa's resources are vast. In terms of mineral and natural wealth, it is unparalleled. In terms of the amount of oil that's in Africa, nobody is its peer, even in the so-called Middle East. And they know that the only way that they will keep us subjugated is to make sure that none of that wealth falls into the hands of Africans themselves. And so our political priority must be throwing out all foreign interests from the African continent, organizing Africa continentally into one United States of Africa. You see what Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso were able to do, just those three countries coming together. They were able to chase France out of Africa. They were able to chase the United States out of Africa. Imagine if 54 countries in Africa come together and say to the world, we're standing tall, we're standing strong as Africa for a revolutionary purpose. Everything changes. Because if you have the United States of Africa with all of its military might, with all of its economic might, with all of its diplomatic influence, with all of its political might and power, even existing, it would never have to raise a finger to help those of us who live in the diaspora. Because when the police roll up on some brother on some lonely night road, and they come out with an appetite for beating up on a black young man today, when they look at that brother and they say to themselves, what's the chief gonna say if we beat up an African? What's the mayor gonna say if we do that? What's the governor gonna say? What's the president gonna say? We're gonna create an international incident right here? Have a nice evening, sir. We just wanted to tell you to be safe. It changes everything. And so we must be focused on that as our political priority and our political objective. Uniting the global South, focusing on making Africa powerful, coming together and rejecting the United States of America as it currently exists. That's the way forward. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, family.
Good afternoon. Yeah.
I want to thank Dr. Okafor for inviting me, and I'm glad to be here with the distinguished panelists. I'm glad to see you all out there. I'm 83 years old, and I was born in River Rouge, south in the Downriver area, and I grew up between Detroit and River Rouge and a farm in Georgia. I've also been a factory worker in my youth. I worked in the auto industry in Detroit. I worked in the steel mills. And I was raised by grandparents who, my grandmother was, she taught Negro history at King Solomon Baptist Church and was active with the Baptist Women's Auxiliary. And they were social workers and community activists in Detroit. Back in the, I'm talking about 1930s, 40s, 50s. And so she took me around with her to the women's meetings. And my grandfather was a factory worker and a very proud union member. He was a farmer who had just migrated to Detroit, and he became a factory worker at Henry Ford. And you know, those of you who have seen the mural big over there at the Detroit Institute of Arts, there's a mural that was done in 1929 about the factory, the Ford factory in Rouge, Michigan. And my grandfather worked at that factory, my father worked at that factory, and I worked at that same factory. And the picture of it still looks about the same. So I remember the period of lynchings in the 1940s, and the last one that I recall was Emmett Till. And I was there when Emmett Till's mother came to speak at King Solomon. You know, she traveled all around the country to make sure that everybody would get to know about what had happened to her son. I also got to hear Thurgood Marshall at King Solomon Baptist Church right after Brown Bush's Board of Education. He was on a national tour. And he made some comments about the lack of democracy in the United States. He said we have not achieved democracy here. And I hear everybody talking about we got to save this democracy. Well, Thurgood Marshall said we don't have democracy. We've been fighting for democracy, but we don't have it yet. And he made the same statement before he died in the 1980s in Hawaii. Increase global wars to maintain and expand U.S. and Western dominance. It seeks to shift much of the federal government domestic agencies to the states, slash domestic budgets for health, education, welfare established during the New Deal of President Roosevelt, eliminate the Constitution and the Bill of Rights as we know it, the elimination of civil rights protections, and increase the militarization of the police and the use of military to police civilians. This means war of the rich upon the working classes and black and brown peoples of the U.S., in the U.S. and globally. What our community must focus on now is non-governmental, community-led creation of alternative systems to ensure basic survival necessities of food, shelter, education, healthcare. The use of alternative and independent media rather than corporate media. And community defense within the United States and planning for those who will decide to move abroad. In addition, we must go beyond survival and collectively propose a vision of a new and better society and world based on peace, justice, and dignity for everyone. Our education systems must incorporate these issues as it has never done. I will stop there.
Let's give the panelists another round of applause. As you could attest, they are really distinguished. And I will field one question and then see how that goes. My question is, dear panelists, how would you assess the current political climate in our country of the United States? In the last few months, we've seen a robust interplay of checks and balances in the separation of powers amongst the three branches of government, namely the presidency, the Congress, and the judiciary. What's your take on what's going on? Anyway. What's your take on what's going on?
The take is I think we're in a paradigm shift, and I think as someone who wanted to be in this Congress, I think we're lacking, as a Republican, I think we're lacking a black perspective in the House. The president, he won, he had a mandate, he has overwhelming support. The data still to today says he has high numbers of support. So there's a large part of the population who are in line with him. And power dynamic is like, you can go against the leader, but how long will you be here? Like, is going against the leader prudent? And we can all say what we would do until you get into the kitchen. And I think there's a lot of things going on from the executive branch, there's things that are going on at the legislative branch, and there are things that's going on at the judicial branch. And I really think we're really seeing the beauty of the three branches. I also believe that it's not just like a realignment, it's a reshift. We're seeing cracks and fragile pieces of it. The republic is still a very young republic. And I think we can fix it, we can aid it, and it just takes certain type of leadership. I mean, at the executive branch right now, per the Supreme Court ruling, we're seeing an executive who he's using his executive powers. He's using it, and I think I'm more interested in seeing how the next executive uses it. Like he's the court can say no, but what you gonna do? You gonna snatch me out of here? I mean, like we are seeing the magnitude of the Constitution. How is our infrastructure? Can the infrastructure outstand this next 4 years, or will it break, or will it bend, or will the Congress, I believe, will eventually get to a juncture and say, all right, bruh, you're going a bit far. We're going to stand up, but the Congress only could stand up once the American people, and the data shows they're no longer in line with the president. I heard a few comments when Brother Eric was talking about republicanism and Donald Trump. We as a people, black people in the diaspora, we can't just immediately get to you must be stupid or you must not be smart to vote for Trump. The data shows overwhelmingly it happened. So if Donald Trump could get a me and if Donald Trump could get a racist, we got to begin to ask why. Overwhelmingly. Not just like, oh, 1 people, 5 people, that city, that neighborhood. It happened across the board. And we got to begin to say, are they stupid? Or do I need to dive in? Do I need to get into the qualitative? Do I need to ask questions? Do I need to go to the party? Do I need to? I want to know why. I'm currently reading for the 3rd time Farrell Polly's Pedagogy of the Oppressed, and a real radical ask questions. Get involved, be with the people to understand why. He says, let's make America great again. They never really defined it. So it's really interpreting from the person. Kendrick Lamar says they're not like us, but then you also have us saying they're not like us, but then you also having them also sing the song they're not like us. So how does it work? Who is it's an interpretation of it, and it's really a genius marketing ploy. So the country is at a unique parallel. The infrastructures is here to check. Each branch has to get the gall to check the other branch. And I think right now, we just have one branch saying, boss up. And the other branches are like, all right, bro, we're trying to be cool with you. We're trying to rock with you. We're trying not to boss up. But what we all know about power, and what Frederick Douglass talked about power is, no one gives power, power is taken. I promise you, I don't believe the House of Representatives or the Senate is going to say, all right, Mr. President, you can have our power. Something is going to happen where they erect themselves and say, no. We're seeing it with some judicial branches of appointees from Democratic presidents who are stopping him or holding him. So the checks and balances is going to work. We just have to see and wait at one juncture where the other branches step into their true power. Because this president, there's almost, from his perspective, there's almost a beauty of him not winning that second term. So he had time to step out of the office, develop a team to really say, let's analyze this branch of government. What can we do once we get in there? And they got in there, they've been rocking and rolling. They came in, it's like Thanksgiving dinner. We got our greens, we got our seasoning. As soon as we get in the kitchen, throw on the pot, it's all chopped up, it's all pre-ready, let's go.
I think we get your message,
All
brother.
right, appreciate it.
Donald Trump is a pathetic, sick, criminal man. But you gotta understand that, and he's a liar, a pathological liar, who lies and believes his own lies, and the people who support him believe his own lies in the face of glaring evidence to the contrary. He will tell you that the data shows that everybody supports him, and he will look at this pathetic excuse of a parade that he gave himself, where there were a few people standing out there asleep, and then compare that with millions of people across the country who were out in the streets saying no kings, and then say with a straight face that there were more people at his birthday celebration than were out there saying that there are no kings. And so the truth of what's going on here is that he has far overstepped anything that anybody expected, even people who voted for him. He has intimidated law firms, he's intimidated judges, he's intimidated Congress, and he is trying to run roughshod over them, violating the law in the process at every turn, prepared to take the country back. The problem for us as black people, and I think we need to be seriously conscious of this, is that the level of consciousness as it relates to race has not kept pace with the level of consciousness about the abuse of power that's been exercised by Donald Trump. So that we could conceivably see a situation where these millions of people who were in the streets last weekend begin to do what they have to do in order to take the country. But once they take it, their racial chauvinism, their white supremacy, and everything else doesn't mean any real advancement and improvement for the lives of black people. And that's a very dangerous situation for us. I don't have an answer for it other than for us to come together as a community and for us to, as I said earlier, make common cause with people who are similarly oppressed around the world and to stand up. But to even think that Donald Trump is someone who is legitimate, someone who enjoys the support and endorsement of the vast masses of the people in this country is delusional.
It's delusional.
If I might just offer a word.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Dr. Ware. I'm going to
I
reach
can't
out
see
to
the other
you.
pamphlet.
I know, it's okay. Michelle Obama said that she wakes up every day in a house that former slaves had built. I walk into a Capitol building every day where I have colleagues who believe in the rhetoric of the executive branch and have said things on the floor of the Michigan House of Representatives that I don't belong there, as I was duly elected by almost my primary was almost 15,000 people. The general was almost about 50,000 people, that I don't belong there because I am the descendant of an African who was enslaved. That is the hyperpolarization I have to work in. I am fighting, even right now, and now I'm being called into, and it's a holiday, and I'm gonna have to, this is probably the last thing I'll be able to say on this panel, because I have to save, me and my other colleagues here in Washtenaw community, in the Washtenaw community, have to save the funding for the University of Michigan. Because their speaker, the speaker at the Michigan House, Matt Hall, has decided that woke universities don't deserve funding. But what's the purpose of a university if it's not to educate and open the minds of the young people and the adults and anybody else in there? What's the purpose of higher education? Michigan does rank very low in higher education investment. And I can kind of agree with spreading some of the money around so some of our other colleges are invested in so they don't have to close. But when 30% of people in Michigan are employed by the University of Michigan across both peninsulas, and you are seeking to take millions of dollars from it, I can't stand by that rhetoric. I can't stand by the rhetoric to take that people think that I don't deserve to sit in the same chamber with them. Who do you think you are? We have to be very real about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just as my friend sitting next to me says.
Yeah.
We have to be real about the original sins of this country, which are slavery and white supremacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And another thing that we have to be very real about is I am a black woman in the Michigan State Legislature that does not represent a majority black district.
Period.
I am the first homogeneously black woman to represent any part of Ann Arbor. Everybody else was biracial, and there is a difference. No offense to my predecessors. I had to go into Saline and knock doors and get chased out. A sheriff's deputy pulled up on me and was like, "Oh, Morgan, you're okay." I said, "Tell the racist that called the police on me that I hope that I have their vote. Because either way, I'm going to have to represent them." We cannot sit by as black people, and I'm going to get to my notes here really quickly, and I want to hit on some points, and then I'm going to leave this place because I have other things that I have to do to make sure that the Eastern Michigan gets its funding, University of Michigan, Michigan State, that we're allowed to turn the lights on in this building, that our black Greek letter organizations can reserve a room for their probate and not get their funding taken away by the Michigan Waffle House of Representatives, because that's what it is. It's nothing but, it's ghetto, and it's nothing but a fight in there every day. If you ever been to a Waffle House, the food is good, but you never know what could happen. So here are some things I'm working on, and members of the legislature and the Michigan Legislative Black Caucus are working on as we try to preserve what we have as we fight forward for the future. Climate and environmental justice. If we don't do something about our climate and our Great Lakes right now, I was just at a conference on the Great Lakes, and we fund these universities like the University of Milwaukee that sits on our Great Lakes and tests that water, those PFAS and microplastics, then we're all going to have unsafe drinking water. Then what you gonna do? While Nestle taps into our water in Idlewild, Michigan, to bottle it to sell it to us as Ice Mountain and say that it's Michigan's water. In a black utopia in this state. Technology and surveillance. We live in a surveillance state. AI, data privacy, and technology is being weaponized against marginalized communities. Global conflict and migration, war, resource scarcity, and border policy both shape domestic, state, and foreign agendas. That's what it shapes. I disagree and I reject the rhetoric that is coming through this country right now. You are absolutely right. We are on the precipice of a revolution. And I am glad and a little bit terrified in the best way possible to be elected to this chamber to help do this. When I die, and he's from River Rouge, so he knows my family, and they lay me out in McFall Funeral Home, I don't want people to say that my blood is on their hands. I did the right thing by my seat, by the people that I asked to elect me, by my colleagues that I've asked to work with me. This is a heavy responsibility. And the future of black politics in America is on my shoulders, and it's on the shoulders of all of us working together. But if we can't work together, and we can't find commonalities, and it's not easy, we'll never get anything done. And we'll be doing exactly what white supremacy has asked us to do, is remain divided.
Makes America great.
The professor online has a response. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll try to be brief. I'm glad that Pan-Africanism and the international dimensions of our struggle have been highlighted from various panelists. So I'll frame my response with a line from the great Julius Nyerere of Tanzania. He said, of course the United States is a single-party state, but with classic American extravagance, there are two of them. If you think that there is a dime's worth of difference between Team Blue and Team Red when it comes to fascism or imperialism, you're out of your mind. And as Malcolm said about the Democrats in '64, he said, you put them first and they put you last, and that makes you a chump. That makes you a political chump. You have to understand that if you were to make a Venn diagram of these two parties, donor base, that it would be a single circle. And right in the middle of it would be AIPAC, the Zionists that control through their lobbyists every single Congress member. And then in the middle of it would be Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, General Dynamics, 5 weapons manufacturers that consume 60% of our defense budget of $1.3 trillion a year. And if the Democrats are mad that Trump won, all they had to do was stop using people's tax dollars to incinerate children, because people don't like having their tax dollars used to blow kids up in their face. But they refuse from that money, so they kept right on killing kids. And no, Trump is not the answer to anything, except the question is, who is America's Mussolini? If that is your question, then Trump is the answer. If the question is anything else, then that man ain't the answer. So you have to understand that yes, a revolution is coming, but it will not come from any of these corporate-led parties. Democrats are not going to lead that revolution, because who funds you, runs you.
That's right.
As long as black folks stay tethered to that Democrat plantation, thinking that being included in DEI Reaganomics, the neoliberal selling off of this country, and having a few token black faces be allowed to participate in fundamentally white supremacist rule, so that we have black folks raising their hand at the UN, voting against the ceasefire to continue a white supremacist genocide, so that we had Barack Obama kill more Yemeni kids with drones than any president before or since, that Obama deported more immigrants than Trump. Yeah. That the answer is not going to come from people who are owned by the same corporations. The last thing I'll say, because I know I'm probably not going to get another chance to speak on this, is that I was personally offended by the way that blackness was weaponized in this last electoral cycle to try to justify white supremacist genocide. Yeah. Blackness was invented and created by our ancestors to fight against white supremacy, and now we see it consistently weaponized for white supremacist purposes, and that sickens and disgusts me. We have to do better as black people, and we have to stand for liberation, not just for our community, but as we always have, for human liberation, because black folks, through the Haitian Revolution, through Frederick Douglass, right down into the modern period, are responsible for guiding humanity out of this darkness that is white supremacy. And if we do not stand up against these two corporate parties that represent the liberal and conservative faces of white supremacy and imperialism, then shame on us.
Yeah, I will be brief as well. I mean, I've lived in France and South Africa and studied about other cultures in the world, as my background is cultural anthropology. Other countries have they may have like 3 to 5 party system or more. And America has the blue team and the red team. And I know we talk about the green team, but it's really that way, and we're hindered by that. We presently have, I mean, it's a hot mess. It's a hot stinking mess right now. I mean, you got the president, you know, who thinks he is God of the world, and it's like, what is Congress doing? You know, we need to have a revolution in the Republican Party. We need to have a revolution in the Democratic Party. We have right now on the red team, you got Stephen Miller, who is basically like Trump's brain right now. He was Trump's brain in the last term, and he's Trump's brain in this term. And he comes from a family of recent immigrants, but then he's saying, we're in a country country, again, this is a country that was built by slaves, immigrants, and they're rounded up. It's crazy. It's like one of those books you read about, like you read about Nazi Germany, but we're here, we're seeing also Nazi Germany behavior towards the Palestinians in Israel, but it's like we're looking at that on TV, but then it's happening to us right now. And it's like you can't just go hide away. You can't hide away. You got people out there protesting. I know on social media, they tell a lot of black folks, they're like, we rested, okay, because we've been doing our thing. We've been leading the party from the beginning. We fight for our rights, and when we fight for our rights, everybody gets a benefit. So I see that, for me personally, I've been boycotting. It's been hard. I've boycotted Walmart. One of my former professors actually talks about the Walmart situation. But we need to mobilize. Some people, if you feel inclined to protest, now look, if you're black and you're brown, I got some videos out there. I got some videos telling you how to protest. But also, this is what I created during COVID. I was like, how to protest peacefully, stay your ass at home. Because if you black and brown, red or yellow, you're going to probably get locked up. You're going to catch a case. If you catch a case, you're going to be calling me or some of the other brothers and sisters in law. What good you going to do? What are you going to be? How you going to really benefit somebody? We need to be boycotting. I've been boycotting Walmart. I've been boycotting Target. Yep. Anybody that is anti-black, anti-immigrant, you need to boycott them. Let your dollars do the talking. Call your Congress people. And the Congress people, they got to go. In the Constitution, anybody that's not doing their job, they need to be impeached right now. Right now. We need to be calling them and saying, you need to impeach. You need to do your job. If you're not going to do your job, if you're not going to do the job for the people of this country, then you need to step. You got to go. And so it's basically, again, they want to put the women back in the kitchen. They want to put black and brown back in the fields, and they want to put the gay people back in the closet. And we're not going back. We're not going back. We are here to fight. And we need to do what we can to build ourselves up, to preserve ourselves and our country. Congress needs to do its job. You need 2/3 of the Congress to impeach the president. Congress needs to, I don't know what, and I disagree. I think that you see Senator Booker, you see Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, there are Democrats that are doing their part, but where are the Republicans? And the people need to put the pressure on the politicians. And we don't need to wait for the midterms. They need to go now. If you're not doing your job, then you need to go right now. You need to be up out of there because it's insidious. And God bless the judges. God bless them. If we didn't have the judges, we have some righteous judges, whether they're on the blue team, the red team, whatever team they are, we have some righteous judges. And we need to protect our judges. As we sit here today, there's a trial going on at the 47th District Court against Judge Deborah Nance, who stuck up for her sister judge, Judge Deborah Brew, over a bicycle incident in 2019. We, in Black Women Lawyers, we've been with the other advocacy groups, the ACLU, NAACP, Association of Black Judges, 18 ministers, and we have been trying to make sure that the racial profiling of black judges that ends. There's supposed to be an independent audit, but there's things that you can do right now. You can go and observe that proceeding. You can observe the proceeding. You can reach out to the JTC and say, why is it? There's already initial findings that there's more complaints filed against black judges. Why is it? Why are they choosing to go after 2 black women? And this is historical what's happening right now. Why are they going after 2 black women judges over an incident about a dispute about a bicycle when you have judges on the bench? You have some judges that are black, white, Hispanic, all kinds of judges that are breaking the rules, but the lawyers and the people in the courts are too afraid to say anything about it. And if you say something, you may have to deal with some retaliation. So we need to make sure that there is fairness in the system. Congress needs to do its jobs, and we need to support our righteous judges that are doing our job. It's like the judges are almost like the last line of defense in preserving democracy in our nation. So thank you.
I'll be brief, and Dr. Ware hit on a very important point that is overlooked. We have a lot of keyboard revolutionaries that will be all day, every day on the computer. Less than 50% of people in Detroit voted, 100% compliant. In the state of Michigan, the 17 biggest counties, only one county had an increase in voting on November 5th, 2024. So we can bitch, whine, and moan all we want. Who voted? 4 years ago, in the city of Detroit, less than 20% of the people voted for mayor. But 100% of people complained. So we can't have it both ways. You see that you go be for the revolutionary, you go stand up and do something, or you can sit on your ass and complain. I see a lot of complaining. You know, people are tripping about why were there not more blacks this past weekend in this King rally. I'd be damned if I was gonna get out there and protest, and the reason why is because you have a community that don't even like us, but I'm gonna support you. We gotta know who our friends are. Until we know who our friends are, our enemies are right in front of us. But we wanna be friends to everybody. Even in 2020, after the George Floyd situation, almost every rally I went to, and I spoke at some, there were more non-blacks there than blacks. More non-blacks there than blacks. But we want to bitch, whine, and moan about everything. At the end of the day, who voted on November the 5th? The number speaks for itself. In the country, there was less people of color that voted on November the 5th for the Democratic presidential candidate than the last 4 presidential elections in this country. But 100% of people still complaining. We can't have it both ways.
Okay, it's now time to give the audience an opportunity to chat, to join this conversation. Anybody who wants to?
I just want to first begin by thanking all the panelists for being here. I think this is a very important topic, which is why we're doing this again. I think that this room should be bursting at the seams. To one of the panelists' point, I think everybody has an opinion, but if you have an opinion, it needs to be backed up by an action. There has to be action attached to whatever opinion that you have, because everybody has something to get you to the conversation, but we don't have enough feet on the ground to match the lips that are moving. I do want to say that we can talk about, we can talk about blue team, we can talk about red team, but last I looked, the law is written in black ink. And what we have right now going on in this world, and what we have, historically, what we've witnessed in America is that the rule of law is not followed by those who are in power. We've seen it since the founding of this country, and we see it now. Those who are in power, those who have political power, those who have the economic power, they are not beholden to the law that the rest of us are held accountable to. And that is a problem. And we have to recognize that problem, and something needs to be done about it. I just wanted to, the question that I have is, as we look backwards, right, acknowledging the fact that progress is really absolute. Often we'll take 2 steps forward and take 4 steps back, or we'll take 1 step forward and we are pushed backwards 5 steps. We see it all the time. We see laws that are enacted that are, that are done away with or not followed, and we have to have the court step in to enforce these laws. So recognizing the fact that progress is really absolute. I guess my question is, how do we maintain the gains that have already been made while simultaneously moving the ball forward? Because we are not staying at the places, we are not maintaining the gains that we have made throughout our collective history. And we are further getting pushed back and getting pushed back and getting pushed back. So how do we move forward, and how do we maintain the gains that we've already established? Thank you.
Yeah, very quickly, our progress is not measured by law. Our progress is often measured by the extent to which they create laws which are intended to push us back. If they're creating laws which are intended to push us back, it means we have made incredible progress. And we never go back. We always go forward, whatever the law might say. Our progress is measured by the level of consciousness of the people and what they're committed to doing. One quick example. The law says that the United States can intervene militarily in pretty much any place in the world that it wants to intervene, as long as Congress signs on to that. This country has not intervened at at will, at any time or at any place, because the people, the level of consciousness and commitment to non-intervention has grown exponentially since the Vietnam War. So that's just one quick example of it. Now when they want to intervene militarily, they have to do it with drones, they have to do it with remote bombing, they have to do it with robot soldiers. They can't just on a whim put boots on the ground any place in the world. That's why Donald Trump is having so much trouble right now with the question of Iran. So the laws might change. The laws may look like they're pushing us back, but it's really a measure of how much consciousness and commitment the masses of the people have, which determines our progress.
And Attorney Fenton, let me quick response. He spoke on a very important point. We have to push the needle. And Shannon McFall, a friend of mine, he's in the room right now. On August 28th, when the MEEP scores, MyStep scores came out, I wrote a letter to 106 elected officials in the state of Michigan based on their silence to Detroit doing so poorly on those tests. I got a response from 5 people. 5. That speaks to the fact that they care more about our vote than us as a people. Their stance is you keep them dumb, you can control them. I'm not being real, I'm in a fraternity. A lot of information we get as members of the fraternity is intentional to not give us the information, because as long as you keep them dumb and uneducated, you can control them. Look at every single state in this country and look at the test scores of urban community citizens. It's no coincidence that the 4th grade reading law is parallel to the school to prison pipeline. But we sit back and we want to say they not like us. As I say in my opening statements, they not trying to be like us. Let's be real. Because if they were, we would have more friends and less enemies.
I want to comment on
Let me get them to ask more questions, then you can answer in any order.
Sure, appreciate it. Thank you so much. First, a really quick comment on they're not like us. If the person's a pedophile, that is the person we are not like. So check the record on who's the pedophile and you'll have the answer there. That being said, recently HBCUs have been incredibly defunded over the last 30 years. So like, I guess, hold on, I apologize because I didn't expect Dr. O'Connor to come over here, which I really truly appreciate. Also, I truly appreciate all of you being here. I did have to make that not like us comment first though, because that's the truth, Ruth. That being said, thank you for your patience. Cool. So HBCUs have been defunded over the last 3 decades to the tune of $12 billion, and the majority of states that have been doing that defending are Republican-run states. So like when we're talking about like which, like the blue team and the red team are doing the same thing, there are blue team states that have HBCUs, but the red states are getting defunded, right? And those states have closed schools, right? We're talking about St. Paul's College in Virginia, we're talking about Concordia College in Alabama, we're talking about Mary Holmes College in Mississippi, we're talking about St. College in Mississippi, we're talking about Morristown College in Tennessee, and tons of other HBCUs that have been defunded because Republicans, and none of the black Republicans saying anything, Republicans like allowing that funding to feather away, right? And we're talking about like, well, how do we prepare the future? The future is obviously in school, the future is obviously in education. If we're not doing the work, if we're not putting in the work, and we're like talking about nonsense, then yeah, it is stupid, like that man said right there, it is stupid, 100%. So I just want to like ask you all, like, what do you think about the idea of like the top 2 states that have defunded HBCUs at the tune of $2 billion, 3 states, I should say, Florida, North Carolina, and Tennessee. We're talking about FAMU, right? I went to school in Florida. Like, FAMU is real talk. That is an awesome university. It breaks my heart to know that they, over 30 years, didn't receive $2 billion. Where would they be today if they had that money? What's up?
I went to Mississippi.
Being a part of the HBCU, the
Well, he was going to give an answer. Go ahead.
I wanted to respond to my brother here about what we need to do to maintain. Well, I think one of our weaknesses in both in the black community and in the United States in general is that we have so little information about what's happening in the world.
Right.
Now, some of the panelists here have very rich experiences internationally, but the American people as a whole have very little information, and so we don't know a major part of the puzzle for making our plans about what we need to be doing. For example, with the Pentagon spending $1 trillion a year, we have all these wars that we fight. For instance, we spend $1 trillion on Afghanistan. We spend $1 trillion on Iraq. We spend $1 trillion and more on Vietnam. So the money that we need for our domestic issues and our domestic necessities is gone to the war, it's gone to the Pentagon, it's gone to the armaments industry. Even Eisenhower warned us about the armaments industry when he left office. So when we're debating things like we need money for education and health and welfare, well, the money's gone to the Pentagon. They took it off the top. I've heard, and I've worked for Congressman Conyers 40 years ago in Washington. And back then, I remember hearing members of Congress joke with each other about who they were representing. This is the congressman from Boeing Aircraft. This is the congressman from Amazon. This is the congressman from McDonald's. And they're joking among themselves about that. They give less of a damn about what the people need. And that was 40 years. It's worse. It gets worse every year. Because the armaments industry need more and more money every year. They need trillions of dollars for all these new gadgets they have because the U.S. is actually behind most of the other countries. And you know, when we came out of World War II, the U.S. was a major leader. But today, most of the countries have all the technology that we have militarily. So we can't just, as Mark said, you can't just send troops everywhere now because the people are not going to allow it. And so that means that they now have to begin to exploit people in the United States more because they can't exploit people in the other countries so much. But if we were looking at international affairs, we would see that the progressive, what the vision is of the rest of the world, people want free education, free health care. We shouldn't be arguing about how much money is going to the black colleges. It should be free. We shouldn't be worried about paying for technical education or trade schools ought to be free. And in a little country like Cuba, 90 miles from Florida, 10 or 11 million people in an agricultural country. They have no industry. They have free education. People go into medical school. And in fact, people from Detroit, the United States, are going to Cuba to go to medical school free. And then they go all over the world and serve people of medical needs in places in the most remote areas of the world, in the desert, in the jungle, up in the mountains. Wherever you go, you run into a Cuban doctor, and most of them are women. And they're black. So we have a lot to learn from other countries and what other people are doing, but our media, the corporate media, is our enemy. And I'm saying that as a person who's been working in media all of my adult life. It is not to be trusted, especially on international affairs. And so right now, the world is facing a third world war as we speak. It's the possibility we could, I mean, even in a few minutes, we could be up in, go up in flames. But we're not getting any information about it. So the people at the government, our policy is to fight. Anybody who don't agree with us, what's our remedy? Fight, send the troops, bomb them, the hell out of them. That is the American way. This is the foreign policy that came out of the early American history before the Civil War. And it did not change after the Civil War. We eliminated the slave system, chattel slavery, but we did not change the foreign policy. We still treat people around the world like dogs. And that is why they hate the United States, because we treat people like slaves everywhere. Black, brown, yellow, whatever they are. We don't like them, all of them are niggers. That's the way we treat them. And so we wonder why it is that people want to fight. Because we treat them, why are the immigrants all over? We got millions of people who are displaced around the world because of what capitalist countries are doing, the United States in the leadership, to keep people down. When I was a child, there was a slogan, keep the nigger down. And that is the global slogan, to keep everybody else down. We're talking about fighting with the Canadians and the Mexicans in Panama and taking Greenland. This is the policy of slavery. And so we have to do more to study, to read independent media, study independent media, alternative media. We have to build unity in our communities to answer the questions that we want to answer. What type of society we want to build. We have to go way beyond whatever the Democrats and Republicans and the Greens are talking about. We have to look at what the most advanced societies are doing, and we are not that. Maybe we were one time, but and of course we always had slavery and killing the Native Americans. We have been a genocidal society. We have to admit that. We have to be very brutally honest about who we are in this country and where it has been going, what it has been doing. We've been slaughtering people around the world. And so we can't continue that. It's not sustainable. And we have to change it from the grassroots, from the ground up. We have to build political parties that represent the interests of working class people, of little folks, of black and brown people. It's not going to be done from the top down. It's going to have to be from the bottom up.
Okay, go ahead.
And to continue answering the question, everyone who answered your question, they said information. Your question is the very essence of what we're celebrating today, Juneteenth. The 13th Amendment says slavery nor voluntary servitude shall be allowed in the United States, except if one is duly punished over crime. That same document that freed us in that same context also enslaved us. And then what we're celebrating is that people in Texas realized that information 2.5 years later, so they didn't get the information. So how do we evolve behind legislation and continue movement? Awareness, information, and not just awareness, but acting on it. So like, we all became aware that we were free. Do you think they could have came back 5 years later like, all right, we're about to redo this 13th Amendment and back enslave you? No. When we become aware of policy and act on policy and use policy into the benefit of that policy, it's really hard to kind of retract that policy. I think that I'm a graduate of HBCUs. I think the issue in those states that you're talking about is that we don't have real Republicans. We don't have Republicans like me in that house to push. It's really me from Michigan, Carlos Wright from Tennessee. It's not gonna move the needle. I'm not that good yet, but I just think that the diversity of us in different parties and different rooms begin to change the needle, and I think that's what it takes.
Dr. Okafor, I know Professor Bush has to go. We have one question here for him. Right here for him.
For him?
Yeah.
Okay.
The next time be next.
Stand over here so Dr. Butcher can hear me. So first, I just want to say thank you to all the panelists for this powerful and much needed conversation. I'm especially grateful to be here as an Arab American Muslim woman married to a black Christian man. Our children from our blended family are here in the audience today as well. We all live at the intersection of so many of the themes that are being explored today. Question for you, Dr. Bush-Ware. As a fellow Muslim, I'm deeply inspired by the historical role that Islam has played in shaping black political consciousness, from West African scholars to leaders like Malcolm X and beyond. Looking ahead, what do you see as the role and responsibility of Muslim Americans, particularly in this movement, in advancing the future of black political power and liberation movements in the US? How can we show up more intentionally in these spaces, both spiritually and politically?
Outstanding question, and thank you for the question. And I think that I'll connect it. So Woodrow had the first question. He wasn't on camera, but I felt like I recognized his voice.
That's right.
Okay, all right, good. So I'm going to bring the two pieces together. The question that our good brother, I'll let both of y'all. So with respect to the law, and then just connect to the Muslims in just a moment, to your point, Brother Woodrow, common theory of fascism says that fascism is when there's a system of law or rather there's an in-group, which the law protects but does not bind. And then out-groups, which the law binds but does not protect. Do you follow me? So this is what has always obtained inside this American Union. There has been laws that are designed to protect an in-group but bind the out-groups. And one of those out-groups, and this is just to gently push back on something that was said earlier about the U.S. just can't go to war after Vietnam. Hell yeah, they can, if Muslims are involved. Because Islamophobia is rampant throughout this country, and Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, Somalia, Sudan are powerful testimonies to the fact that Islamophobia can be weaponized, despite the fact, now to bring in Sister Maya's question, that there is massive overlap between the black community and the Muslim community. Many people do not know that the largest ethnic contingent inside the American Muslim community is still black Muslims. Still black Muslims, right down to the present. So what then is the role of Muslims in this moment of future of black politics? Well, many of us are black and Muslim at the same time. But what I want to signal, and to connect one other piece, because this is going to be my last chance to say something, I do have to go. Please do not put us with team blue and red. I heard people say blue, red, and green. One of those things is not like the other. We don't take a penny of corporate money, and we don't take a penny of PAC money, and never taken a penny of AIPAC money. And you know who knows that? The Muslims. The Muslims in 2024 voted 53% for the Steinwehr ticket. The Muslims elected an anti-imperialist, anti-racist candidate that runs on reparations, that runs on immigrant rights, that runs on collective liberation. So what will be the role of Muslims, brown, black, and otherwise? Moral leadership. Because unfortunately, many black folks fell for Kamala's okie doke and voted for genocide. You cannot reject the genocide and support the genocider. That's not how it works. Listen, since they not like us has already got introduced into the mix, I'm gonna give you a bar real quick. You come to Atlanta when you need a few dollars. You ain't a colleague, you a colonizer. Kamala is to politics what Drake is to hip hop. Identity politics for their own cynical purposes. Print what I just said. And you know who saw through this? Black Muslims. You know who saw through this? The Muslim community more broadly. So the last thing that I'm going to say is that myself, as a black Muslim, also in a blended family, married to a Mexican American Christian woman, is that black Muslims and Muslims know that our commitment to justice and to fight oppression comes before every other commitment. I learned that on back-to-back nights when I read the autobiography of Malcolm X one night and the Quran the next. Genociders against the teachings of Malcolm, against the teachings of James Baldwin, against the teachings of Toni Morrison, against the teachings of Thomas Sankara, who taught us that our struggle is not complete unless we are standing 10 toes down for all of the who have been oppressed by white supremacy. So the last thing that I'll say is, if you are down with this political program, and you want the opportunity to maybe vote for me at the top of the Green Party ticket in 2028, then go to butchwareforgov.com and get down with the program where we're running on housing as a human right, healthcare as a human right, state divestment from genocide, free tuition, higher education. Assalamu alaikum, peace and happiness. And come in remotely. But thank you very much, and please do reach out to me. On Instagram, I respond to DMs at Butchware. So take care.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yes.
Hi, I want to thank everybody for being here just by saying every one of you has a part, but all of you together are representing the whole. And we're mirroring that. I agree with so much of what I've heard. I won't go into a long story about my background, but I'm not from Michigan. I'm from Illinois. My mother's a former Black Panther, and my father completely dropped out of all systems, off paper, everything. So I had a different perspective growing up about politics, and I had to learn a lot growing up because I wanted to see things different. I think a little bit outside of the box, and I do have a question, but I want to say this first. What I think would make politics better is to do away with parties altogether. With the technology we have today, we can bring transparency with everything everyone does. Let the people see everything that happens. Every letter that's sent should be published. Every way that they vote should be published. We should truly have the power to make determinations about who's going to represent us. And it also closes the door to these backroom conversations that keeps things going where, like what Mr. Ware said, there's an in-group that has one benefit, there's an out-group that has one benefit. My question to you, well, two questions. One, and I have to preface this with a comment. I got information about this from Mr. Chris Anderson, thank you, through a LinkedIn message. I live in Ipsy. I saw no signs, no posters, no nothing. Educated, employed people use LinkedIn. If we want the rest of the community to be in events like this, we have to reach them. Social media is a place where trends happen, but people who are generally seeking for truth are able to identify when they're encountering things that are not true. So there's ways to use it, even if it's not social media. Technology must be a part, unless we're gonna go hit the streets. And I think about organization, the best example I have of organization are all the stories, documentaries, books, and firsthand accounts from family members, because I was born in the 70s, is that organization happened in the community, not just in the churches, but in houses, in small rooms. People knew they were putting their lives on the line, and they were not the majority, according to my father, they were the few. So my question to you, with the April 28th order that Trump signed about the law enforcement right to frisk on site without probable cause, backing up law enforcement officers with free, as he'd like to say, pro bono, unlimited legal assistance when someone sues them for wrongful deaths, because they can not just frisk you, but they can use whatever force necessary. He said 60 days. That's July 3rd. Some people are gonna think it's June 28th. I've already seen young black men harassed on the corner of Cross Street and Ballard by cops. One got arrested for resisting arrest, for asking, why am I getting arrested? So what is going to happen? What are the black politicians who support Washtenaw County planning to do, or what are specific interest groups? Where can you lead us to get information to understand how we can begin to communicate and organize around what will actually be happening in the months and years to come?
Can you just, let me allow another audience member to ask a question, then you can answer all those questions. Who's next?
Oh, I just want to make a statement. Who's what you're saying to it.
Okay, yes, go ahead.
I just want to make a statement. Future of black politics in America. Black to me is dominance and righteousness. Politics is the art of governing the people. And when I look at it, it says the future of black politics in America, like everybody's saying, there is no future of black politics in America under the blue and the red. There is no black government for us under Democrats or Republicans. It's not going to happen. I also want to say this, nobody spoke on the importance of our children in building something for our people, man. Don't you know that our children are suffering right now? The kids are suffering. I deal with them every day, and I know you deal with them because you're under the Alliance, you're for the Alliance. But the thing is, there is no future for black people in America in politics unless we start teaching and training our children when they're young. When you study the history of Caucasian people and enslavement of black people, they put fear in us when we were babies. They started to do this as we were children, not when we were grown. So if we take the same mentality and start with our babies, most of us as grown-ups, we failed our children, man. We failed them. It's not the babies that are wrong. It's us that ain't got it right. We need to get it right. And I want to say this again, there is no future for us under Democrats or Republicans in America. There is no future. Unless we understand that and understand that God makes all things new, we got to get rid of all the old, man. All of us got to go. Thank you.
Any other question?
How y'all doing? First of all, I really appreciate the panelists. I appreciate the diversity of opinion and perspectives, and I think it's very healthy and definitely needed as a young black man in these spaces. My experience has been, and this is something a lot of folks ain't gonna wanna hear, but the Democratic Party absolutely sucks for people like me. It is not welcoming, it is not inviting. More often than not, especially locally, us as especially young black men feel like, you know, we are beholden to the Ku Klux Klan, to this mafia, that, you know, it's our job to show up, shut up, smile, be black, and fall in line. And I think a lot of us black folks are just tired to death of being, you know, as serving as banks for everybody else to be able to withdraw, but never anybody else make a deposit. And so to that point, to the No Kings rally, you know, you're right. There were a lot of people there. How many of them were black though? I think these are the kind of questions we have to start asking ourselves. As a young black man, I get chided a lot for saying this, but I feel that the Republicans are making much more honest and genuine efforts to reach a middle ground with us, whereas with the black Democrats, they dispatch usually old black church folks to keep us in line, rather than try to understand us and understand our pain. The Democrats have lost voter share with every voter base except wealthy people and college-educated people. And at some point, we can't just rely on the orange man bad rhetoric. We know that. We've heard that for the past, I don't know how long. That messaging is not effective. It just doesn't work. So my question for the panelists is for somebody like me, who's expressing this genuine good faith desire to want to build bridges, but that keeps being told that anecdotally, no, the problem is you, the problem is you, the problem is you. Well, I feel like 77 million people heard that one too many times. So how do we begin to make genuine good faith bridge building efforts, especially with the youth and with the voter blocks that the Democrats allude?
Yeah, I just want to say this very, very quickly. Don't misunderstand, okay? I pointed to the No Kings rally to point out the nuance and the complexity of what we're facing.
There's a lot of it, I appreciate it.
And that is that, yes, we were not there, and that's the product of calculation by the black community. They know that Trump wanted to weaponize the military and the police to go after black people. So black people have made a decision to stay out of the streets, which I think is a very sophisticated political calculation. White people are waking up. They don't like what's happening with Trump either. But the point that I was making is that there's a danger for us as black people because they have not grown in terms of their racial attitudes. They still remain wed to white supremacy and white chauvinism. So even if they carry out a revolution, that doesn't mean that we win.
I agree.
And so, but the trap that I hope that people will avoid is I think that it represents sophistication and growth for black people to recognize the futility and the bankruptcy of the Democratic Party. That's a wonderful thing. That shows incredible growth because it's a capitalist party, an exploitative party, a racist party. But it is a fatal error to think that the Republican Party, if not the Democratic Party, then we default to the Republican Party because it's worse. So we have to reject both of them. Think outside of this entire political process that's been set up. It's a trap. It's invented to make you think these are your only options politically. That you only have to choose between Democratic and Republican. They got you either way if you stay within that trap. Get out of it completely. Begin to think in creative new ways politically about who you can make alliances with, who you can work with in solidarity. And if you're honest about it, you'll see that there are many people around the world who are as oppressed as we are, sometimes worse. Okay, I pointed to the Palestinians, I pointed to the people who are coming across the border, I pointed to the people in the global south, those in Africa and other places. Those are the people who we can make alliances with and have an effective, form a political force that's effective. but they recognize that too. And this opens up a whole new can of worms, but there is a movement within the black community now which has been inspired by outsiders, even though people deny it, to make us xenophobic. For them to say, not only should you not line up with those who are immigrants, but you should also not even make common cause with people who are of African descent, who were not from this country, who were not enslaved in this country. That's dangerous. Okay? We need to make sure that we are extending and building those bridges that you talked about to people who are facing the same situation that we're facing, even though they may not live within the confines of the United States of America. And we definitely have to get out of this political trap that they've set up for us, Democratic versus Republican. No, it's a dead end.
And you know, you brought up a very great point, and I know I've seen you at other events with regards to the children. I gave a moving on ceremony last week to 8th graders going on to 9th grade. And one of the things I spoke about, I intertwined two songs, Earth, Wind and Fire's That's the Way of the World, and George Benson's The Greatest Love of All. Because if you understand the lyrics of both of those are messages for the youth. You know, in That's the Way of the World, you know, a child is born with a heart of gold, the way of the world turned his heart so cold. George Benson's, you know, I believe the children are the future, teach them well, let them lead the way. It's our responsibility to lead them into the way that we want them to be. We can complain all we want. I got involved in literacy in 2017, March of 2017, after reading an article in Crane's Business Magazine about a 12th grader, not an 11th grader, not a 2nd grader, a damn 12th grader reading at a 1st grade level. Once I started doing my research, that was so damn common. I'm like, how's this happening? But as long as the adults are being quiet about the traps of education, and again, I spoke earlier about the school to prison pipeline. There's a report that shows the zip codes of where people come from throughout the state of Michigan in parallel to the reading proficiency rate of these individuals. 90% of the individuals from these zip code areas have no more than a 3rd grade reading level. So the 3rd grade law is no coincidence. It's no coincidence. And as Martell Bivens talked about the 13th Amendment, that's legal slavery. They found a way to keep slavery alive through the prison system. But we so busy sitting back, you know, trying to be the next Michael Jordan, trying to be the next Deion Sanders. At a youth group, I'm on the board of a youth group. A young man that's in the 11th grade, you know, what do you want to be when you get older? 11th grade, I'm very involved in sports. Professional basketball player. I'm like, no disrespect, my man, but I've never heard of it. Your name don't ring out. So what's your plan B, C, and D? We do a terrible job of asking people what's their plan B, C, and D, even the don'ts. We have to just get better as a people. We have to learn how to align ourselves. And even when it comes to politics, I've donated to 2 campaigns in my life. Freeman Hendricks when he ran for mayor of Detroit, Barack Obama the first time he ran. I'm black, he black, I get a brother benefit of the doubt. But what's the return on the investment? Not only of your money, but your vote. And it's easy to say the return on the investment since 1964, where black people have voted at an 85% rate or higher for the Democratic Party, has been zero. Zero. If you invest 85% of your earnings into something, you want a return on that investment. We have not been getting it, but still people still want to say, what has the Republican Party done for you? I'm independent, but I tell people when they ask me that, the same damn thing the Democratic Party has done for you. Nothing.
I will say this, I mean, I've worked as an educator, and again, I'm a lawyer, so I specialize in criminal defense, family law, juvenile, practicing for 24 years. I became a lawyer because I was concerned about the treatment of black men by the prison industrial complex. I started with adults, and then I was advised to work with the kids. And so I spent 13 years working with the kids, and then I was working in the delinquency system, and I found it to be a broken system. And then I started doing educational advocacy, where we're going into school, we're assessing kids
issues as far as general ed, special ed, helping to get suspensions and expulsions overturned. And so that's the way that I went. And then when the funding was reduced in the court, I left and went back into full-time private practice. And so on a regular basis, I am dealing with the youth and predominantly black men that get caught up in the juvenile system. The juvenile system is supposed to be a reformatory system, but it's not. It's a system where you get certain charges, convictions, and it can follow you into adulthood. Yesterday, I spent time working with a young man and his mother in the office and pouring in and trying to give them resources, referencing Dr. Jawanza Kajufu, who just recently passed away. Like I said at the outset, ain't nobody coming to save us. We got to save ourselves. We've had their freedom schools that we've had in the past. We need to bring back the freedom schools. When I was growing up, we had the Saturday Academy. So I went to a predominantly white school. I went to a Catholic school, and my parents made sure that I was rooted in my blackness. They made sure I had Afrocentric dance, Congolese, that I went to see Ray Pipkin, Dr. Jeremiah Wright. It was Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Farrakhan. They made sure that I had the black consciousness. It's the same thing. Nothing, there's nothing new here. We need to go back to what we did before. Ain't nobody coming to save us. We keep talking about, what they did with, the African American Museum and black colleges. We cannot be relying on outsiders. We need to go look within and develop ourselves. That's how we will preserve our legacy. We got to go back to the black church. I disagree, the Democratic Party is certainly not perfect, but we have made some progress with the Democratic Party as a people. I can guarantee if Kamala was in there, they're cutting off Medicaid, food stamps. It would not have been the same way as it is now. Most black folks, I understand there are stats and there are more black men that are leaning or looking towards the Republican Party, which I would rather they go to the Independent Party than the Republican Party. So, but black folks, most of us did vote for Kamala, okay? Again, like I said, we voted for Kamala. Kamala comes from immigrants. She would not have been the same way. We would not be in the situation that we're in. Even with Biden, y'all keep talking about, I'm not saying all y'all, but some of y'all talking about how he's the invalid. With the invalid, had all these problems. We were in a better space. It wasn't perfect. We were in a better space than we are now. Right now, it's a hot stinking mess. We don't know if we're going to be on World War III or if it's the end of democracy. Kamala is a black woman, and I'm tired of seeing the people taking down black women. Like I said, we are the mothers of the nation. We have held it down, whether it's the blue team, the red team, independent, whatever it is. Black man, wait, what she say? Black man, black woman. See, again, the misogyny is real. It's a problem. Black women are holding it down. We are holding it down. I represent black women every day that are going out there. They're doing their job. They're cooking and cleaning. They're taking care of their family. When the people go to jail, they look out for everybody. They look out for their men, and it's unacceptable. Black women are holding it down. We need to support them, whether it's the blue team, the red team, the independent, the green team. Because the thing is this, the reality is, y'all talking about how many people voted for the green team. Well, what did voting for the green team do for us? It didn't do anything. Right now, you got a white supremacist in the White House. We are looking at the possibility of the end of the democracy. You got people that have moved to other countries. Not everybody has that luxury. Some of us said we're going to stay and fight till the mighty end, okay? Like I said, look at the president of Burkina Faso. Look at him. Look at Brother Ibrahim Traoré. Look at him. And understand. And look in the mirror and understand. Have pride in yourself and stop denigrating black women. Because that's part of the white slave master Willie Lynch effect that has been put on our country and our communities. Thank you.
Okay. The time now is 5:35, and this program was actually designed to end at 5. And you can see that it's been a robust conversation. And as I was listening to you all, I said to myself, maybe we should also do the future of black politics part 3 in the future. What do you think? The future of black politics in America part 3, right? Because I think there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of hunger for ideas and what have you. So, but we cannot continue indefinitely. The Student Center closes around this time. So I'm sorry that I could not get to all of you. And I thank you immensely for making our time to come and join us today. Thank you very much. And God bless you.
Thank you.